to be seated as we hear a reading from Genesis. Now, the serpent was more crafty than any other wild animal that the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, "Did God say, 'You shall not eat from any tree in the garden?'" Well, the woman said to the serpent, "Oh, we may eat of the fruit of the trees in the garden. But God said, 'You shall not eat of the fruit of the tree that is in the middle of the garden, nor shall you touch it, or you shall die.'" But the serpent said to the woman, "You will not die. For God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate, and she also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both were opened, and they knew they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made loincloths for themselves. They heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden at the time of the evening breeze, and the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God among the trees of the garden. But the Lord God called to the man and said to him, "Where are you?" He said, "I heard the sound of you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself." He said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree of which I commanded you not to eat?" Well, the man said, "The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me the fruit from the tree, and I ate." Lord God said to the woman, "What is it that you have done?" Well, it was a serpent. "The serpent tricked me, and I ate." The Lord God said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, because cursed are you among all animals and among all wild creatures, upon your belly you shall go, and the dust you shall eat all the days of your life. I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will strike your head, and you will strike his heel." To the woman he said, "I will greatly increase your pangs in childbearing. In pain you shall bring forth children. Yet your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you." And to the man he said, "Because you have listened to the voice of your wife, and have eaten of the tree about which I commanded you, you shall not eat of it. Cursed is the ground because of you. In toil you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for you, and you shall eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face you shall eat bread, until you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken. You are dust, and to dust you shall return." The man named his wife Eve, because she was the mother of all living. And the Lord God made garments of skin for the man and for his wife, and clothed them. Then the Lord God said, "See, the man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil. And now he might reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever." Therefore the Lord God sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which he was taken. He drove out the man, and at the east of the Garden of Eden he placed the cherubim and a sword flaming and turning to guard the way to the tree of life. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Oh God, why? Why, oh God, did you kick us out? Eden was so lovely, everything in perfect place, the fruit trees ripe for the picking, lions and lambs at play, together the colors of the flowers in full bloom everywhere. It was gorgeous and life was idyllic. And every day at sunset, oh God, you came and stood among us, joined us for a cup of herbal tea. You listened while we talked about the discoveries we were making in this, the new world you had created. Our lives were open books to you, and you walked and talked and delighted in us as we delighted in this world. But you put the stupid tree. Why, oh God, you put that stupid tree in the middle of the garden? The tree was so luscious and so tempting. Surely, God, as easily as you could plant it, you could have plucked it up. It didn't need to be there. We didn't need to have our eyes open to see all that we saw with that first bite of fruit. We didn't need to know how vulnerable and fearful we could be. That stupid lizard, what was he doing there? Did you really have to create the lizard? He didn't have to point out, look how beautiful the tree is with that smooth, beguiling voice. And as surely as you created him out of the dust of the earth, you could have squished him and sent him right back there, never to walk or slither again. Why? Why, oh God, did you kick us out? We were safe in that garden. Nothing. Nothing could harm us. Nothing could hurt us. Nothing could kill us. We didn't know anything about selfishness or greed. We knew nothing of hunger or despair. We knew nothing of hatred, and certainly, God, we didn't know anything about death. But then the lizard and the tree and the disappointment in your voice and the leaving, and then the world. You didn't only, oh God, kick us out of a garden, but you kicked us into this world. You gave us an impossible task to care for this place you had created. You ask us to bring forth life in great pain. Was that because it was so painful for you to birth us into being? Has it been so painful ever since? And you set us to till the soil, to bring forth life. God, it looked so beautiful in the garden, the life that lived side by side without overwhelming or destroying each other. Had we just been blissfully ignorant of how hard you were at work creating that garden, assuming you waved your finger or snapped them and it just happened? Why? Why, God, did you send us into a world filled with evil? A world with weeds, thistles, a place where brother could kill brother. We were told to care for the earth, but we've just dominated it, ravaged it for our own use, for our own perverse pleasure. We were told to care for one another, but once we realized how vulnerable we were, we knew the only way to stay on top of the power heap was to crush those more vulnerable than us. We realized quickly, oh God, that if we could pluck up weeds from the earth and get rid of them, well, we could pluck up the least of society. And if we could create these societies in this world, well, then we could create economic systems that would keep us at the top and others poor. And if we could begin to divide up this land into societies and into nations, well, we could build fences. We keep people out. And if we could build fences, oh God, then we could build walls in our own hearts, and it would keep you and everyone else out. But God, you wouldn't have any of that. chose to go with us. Why didn't you just stay in Eden and leave us to our own misery? Why on earth would you walk out of that garden with us and keep walking with us? When we closed our eyes and we didn't want to see you, and when we closed our ears and we didn't want to hear you, you called priests and you called prophets, and they screamed at us relentlessly to come back to you. You called Isaiah and Jonah and Hosea, and we were forced to open our tightly shut eyes, and you gave us Jeremiah and Ezekiel and Amos, and our hearts started to melt just a little bit, but then we just kept walking away. We closed our ears and our hearts and our eyes one more time, but you kept walking with us through deserts and storms and fire and blood, and would not let go of us. Why? Why would you not let go? And it appeared we couldn't get any worse, God. It appeared we couldn't. And then you sent your Son to walk through the dark places with us, through the weeds and the muck. You came as one of us, as a vulnerable little baby, one who would grow to shed tears and to tell beautiful stories. He came to touch us and to argue with us. You came to us as one who would know what it was like to be kicked out, abandoned, hated, reviled, beaten. We even killed you, God, and still you held fast to us, raising Jesus on the third day for the sake of the world, for the sake of us. Why, oh God, would you do that? Why would you love us that much? You chose to walk with us out of that garden. You chose to walk with us into death. You chose to walk with us into this generation, into a place where our world is full of hate, where there are Charlottesvilles and Houstons, Flints, San Bernardinos, Orlandos, Londons, Paris. Our world is full still of the weeds of the isms, the racism, the sexism, the ageism, the other isms that dig in roots and eat at our hearts. And we are still, God, the frail, fragile people who, like Adam and Eve, continue to succumb day in and day out to temptation and self-indulgence. We're frightened, God. We're frightened by what's beyond our doors, scared by change and by separation. But you continue to walk with us, to call us out of complacency. You challenge us to know you, to hear you, to see you, to taste you as you come to us in water and wine and bread. You speak to us through the voices of our brothers and our sisters. You meet us in the dark places of the world, in hospital rooms and hospices. You come to us in rallies and protests and in the quiet of prayer. You didn't kick us out, did you? We walked away. We've been walking away ever since. But you're just never going to let us go, are you? No matter how far we run, no matter how hard we try to turn our hearts, how deaf we try to make our ears, and how tightly closed we make our eyes, no matter where we wander, you're always right there in the midst of us, loving us despite ourselves. You're going to be our God and call us to be your people. You're going to call us back. For it is in you that we live and breathe and move and find our life and our rest and our peace. would you do that? Why would you love us so much?